Hey everybody, Corn-Fed Lady here, and today we're doing garden updates. Okay, let's start you off over here by our pumpkin patch. And this year we're growing small sugar pumpkins. We've already sold a few at market, and another popular thing out of this patch for market are the blossoms. We've been selling these too, a few for $1. But you can see some of these sugar pumpkins have already started turning orange. I know it's only the end of August, and I've had many people tell me that it's too early for pumpkins, but as you can see, they turn orange whenever they want.
Whatever.
Right next to this pumpkin patch, we have a small area of watermelons, and we've been picking quite a few out of here. This one's probably going to be ready for this weekend. And you'll notice these little white strings that I have tied around the garden. Those are marking things that I want to remember to pick this Friday for farmer's market. I'm not sure when this video is going out, but this is Wednesday today, and these little strings are going to help me find all of these fruits and veggies that need to go out to farmer's market over the next weekend or two. Next to that, we have our pepper plants, and we've been getting quite a few of these Costa Rican sweet peppers. Let's see, I have one marked over here. Oh yeah. And these get quite large, and they do turn red. This one's just barely starting to turn, which is why I marked it. But we've been selling those for $1 a piece. Let's see, I don't have any. Oh, I do have a marker right here. Yep, there's some more good-sized ones in there. Now these ones are still green. You can pick these while they're green and just set them on the counter, preferably in a little indirect sunlight, like coming through a window, and they'll turn red sitting on your counter. And just behind these peppers, we have some tomato plants and grasshoppers. I don't know if you can see that little guy in there. Typical farm day stuff. We just, look at bugs and animals that are around on the property, plants, things like that. Little nature interaction. So right behind these pepper plants, we have some tomato plants, and there are a variety, different varieties going on in here. We've got some Romas coming in the middle section here. There's some slicing tomatoes on the end, like that one. And I believe these are the large pink tomatoes. I don't recall what variety name they're called. And then just on the other side of the Romas, we've got a bunch of cherry tomato plants. Some of these are kind of green right now, but some are getting ready to turn. And again, these will be the ones that I pick for farmer's market this weekend. But this thing's just loaded. If you dig around in there, there are just tons of them all through this bush. We didn't do any trellising this year, other than we did run a couple of lines from these posts all the way down, but they're kind of buried in there now and they're not really doing much. So we're just kind of letting the tomatoes do whatever they want. But they are producing quite a bit of fruit, so I'm not too upset about it. Now I do have to dig around to harvest a little more than if they were trellised properly, but they are producing really well. And over here is some more pepper plants. Now these were seeded out by my husband and my son earlier this year. And you can see this one's marked because it has some large bell peppers coming in on it. And the one behind it is the same way. And on down the road there's a few more. They're starting to really produce now. Just on the other side of this pepper row is a squash patch. And these are butternut squash. Let me take you in here to look at a few of them. Now, our squash are growing pretty well. That being said, if you look a little bit closer, I'm going to take you over the other side here. There is quite the bald spot right in this area. And if you look a little closer, we've got bugs. We got all kinds of little bugs. I'm not sure what these are. I'm not a professional gardener, but they are devastating our squash patch, one little area at a time. So hopefully our squash get done before they take over this whole area. And hopefully they don't like cantaloupe, because right next to the squash patch is our cantaloupe. And let's see if we can find a few of those. I did find one the other day that looked ripe, but then when I turned it over, I found on the bottom side it was rotten and full of ants. It had actually exploded on the end. We got a bunch of rain one night, and it was too much for the melon in its final stages. So it popped open at the end. And if you've ever seen the movie Little Shop of Horrors, feed me all night long. It looked like Audrey too, with a little mouth on the end. And there were a bunch of ants crawling around in there. But we do still have quite a few in here that are getting bigger and bigger each day. And you can actually smell them now. You can smell the cantaloupe when you stand here. Here's a few more. They're just scattered around. All right, let's go back and look at this secondary watermelon patch that we have and the rest of this pumpkin patch. They kind of run together here in the middle. You can see there's a couple pumpkins up there. But then if you look a little further, there's also a watermelon in the middle of the pumpkin patch. So we've got a little crossover. Here's another pumpkin. You know, I believe there was a cantaloupe up in here somewhere too. See some more of the little string markers. Let's see, over here we've got some of these crimson sweet watermelons. These are actually my favorite variety of the two. We also have these sugar baby watermelons, which are made to be small and light. They weigh an average of about 5 to 7 pounds, which they are pretty sweet. They do have seeds in them, and so do the crimson sweet. They also have seeds in them. Next year I plan on trying to find a seedless variety, because I've had a lot of requests for them at farmers market. But these crimson sweet are really, really sweet. And you can see this one here, it's getting pretty big. It's quite a bit bigger than my hand. I don't know if you can catch that on camera, but they're getting pretty big. And this one's nowhere near done. If you watched our other video about checking tendrils, you remember you want to see them turn brown, almost black, and shrivel up all the way up to the stem, this tendril, right by the stem of the watermelon. But this one's still pretty bright green, so this one's got a ways to go. Now, another way you can tell if it's ready to pick on a watermelon like this is, see how these ridges go up and down like waves? When the watermelon gets closer to being done, these ridges will disappear, and it will just be smooth and plump on the outside. Another thing you can look for is yellowing on the bottom side. As you can see, this one's just kind of a little pale, but I wouldn't call that yellow, and it's not ready yet. But the best way to tell on a watermelon is to follow the stem of the watermelon to where it meets the vine, and then you want to find the tendril at that junction. So here's the tendril coming off of that spot where the watermelon vine connects to the stem. So this tendril here is just barely starting to turn brown, but it's got a ways to go. So these two are not quite ready. We'll let them sit probably for another week or two. But some of these other ones are getting kind of close. So they'll be going to farmers market this weekend. Now here's a good example of kind of the surprises of watermelons. A lot of people think the bigger they are, the more ripe they are. Or the sound of the thump can tell you by how hollow it sounds. But if you look at this watermelon, it's quite a bit larger than this one. They're both the same variety. But if you follow the stem up to where it meets the vine, you see the tendril on this one is very green. It's nowhere near ready. And it also has that wavy effect to the surface here. But if you look at this one, even though it's quite a bit smaller, it's really round and smooth and plump. And when you follow the stem of this one up to the vine, you see the tendril down here? It's all turned brown. There's some kind of grass laying in the way. Let me see if I can get it out better. The tendril is all brown on this one, almost all the way up to the stem. Now, once this part that connects to the vine turns brown, I'll cut it. And so this one will be for this weekend. I'll be cutting this Friday afternoon for sale on Saturday morning. So even though it's quite a bit smaller, this one is not ripe. The smaller one is. Let's see, here's another pair of watermelons. If you look at the little one, the tendril is bright green. If you look at the big one, the tendril is starting to turn brown. So this one, actually the big one, looks like it's going to be ripe before the smaller one. So you have to check those tendrils by the vine where it connects. Well, that's it for today's garden tour. Thanks for watching, and make sure you're subscribed so you catch all our new videos every Monday and Thursday. Have a good one. Bye.